Hey.
Hey. How's it going?
Oh, it's good. I ate too much at lunch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it happens.
it does. I'm Savannah.
I'm Elysia.
This is Burden of Proof.
So
All
what do you
right.
have for us today?
I have a rough one. It's not even rough in like the context of the crime. I mean, it is, but it's rough in content. So, severe creep factor coming up for you.
Okay.
Like, you know, creepy,
Yeah.
creepy.
All right.
But it's a fascinating case, and I can't wait to see what you have to say, like, psychologically about this guy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's not great. So we have the case of Carl Tanzler today.
Tanzler.
Yes, and this is the case of the original corpse bride.
I didn't know there was such a... I've never heard of this case.
Yeah, well, buckle up because
Oh, my.
this one's rough.
Okay.
I will just say now that it takes place a majority in the 1920s, early 1900 and 1930.
Okay.
Is where a lot of like the major stuff happens, and then like the late 1930s, it's all kind of over. The actual dates are kind of difficult to pin down. So
Yeah.
I know like some of them I know for sure, but I just wanted to give a preface that that's kind of the era that we're in.
Okay.
A majority of the action, we'll say, happens between like 1927 to 1937, kind of.
Alrighty.
So you kind of know where
I
we
love
are.
that time period.
Yep. And then he actually ended up dying in the mid 80s. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think maybe I'm wrong on that because I'm doing math and that seems like a really long life to have lived. But
Well, that's another 50 years.
yeah, so no, he wouldn't have died in the mid 80s. Maybe it's the mid 60s and I'm just remembering incorrectly.
Okay.
It's one of those things that I didn't write down and I was like, probably should have. But anyway.
All right.
Carl Tanzler he's gone by many names in his life. He was born in Germany, and his name is listed as George Carl Tanzler. But Carl, the middle name was spelled with a K.
Okay.
And then he was listed as Carl Tanzler von Kossel with a C on his United States citizenship papers. And then on his Florida death certificate, he was Carl Tanzler, just Carl Tanzler. Some of his hospital records were Count Carl Tanzler von Kossel.
Count.
Oh, this man is a count.
Okay.
He's not actually. Spoiler alert. But he certainly thinks he is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I'm getting an idea.
Yes. So we're just going to call him Carl because that's his name. He's not Count Carl Tanzler von Kossel. He's just Carl.
Just Carl.
Just Carl.
Is he Carl or is he like Walking Dead? Coral.
Girl. Carl.
Carl.
Because he was
Okay.
German.
Okay.
Yeah. Despite his delusions about his lineage or his qualifications, Carl had a really wild life, which probably didn't help his mental state later on in life. Honestly, he didn't really need to lie about his life because it was already kind of crazy.
Fair.
So at the start of World War I, Carl had left Germany and gone to Australia, where he was working as an electrical engineer, and he was working on a trans-ocean flyer when the war started. When everything kind of erupted, the British soldiers captured him and put him in basically what was a concentration camp for safekeeping, according to them.
Mm.
And then he was also in a prison for some time as a POW. And then he may have been freed in like a prisoner exchange. They had shipped them off to Holland to like do a prisoner exchange. It's very confusing, very messy.
Okay.
So the man who...
That makes sense.
Yeah. He had been through some shit. And I'm not even good at talking about how much like history he actually had during the war because it's confusing as crap.
Okay.
But it is for sure he was definitely in a camp. That is known for sure. And he was working on some electrical stuff.
Okay.
He was a busy man.
Very busy man.
A very busy man.
Did he strum hedges?
His trim hedges? Very busy man.
Did he fix windows? Did he strum hedges?
He's gotta fix the windows. Gotta trim the savage.
For any listeners who think we're crazy, Google,
I'm a very busy man.
I'm a very busy man, little boy,
boy.
strumming hedges. And it's the cutest video.
Oh my gosh. He's got so much to do.
He won the internet. That's how I feel about it.
It's a very cute video. Definitely after this, you're going to need a palate cleanser. It should be the very busy man video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So post-war, he returned to Germany and he found that his mother had actually survived the war. So he stayed with her for a while before he got married to a woman named Doris Schaefer. They had 2 daughters. Unfortunately, one of them died from diphtheria, which is essentially a bacterial infection. I didn't know what that was, so now you do.
Yep.
So he traveled a lot during this portion of his life after his daughter passed away. He spent some time in Cuba before his mom suggested that he should go be with his married sister in Florida. So he moves to Florida first, and then eventually his wife and remaining daughter, Aisha, follow him. They end up in Zephyr Hills, Florida, which is, but his sister actually,
water.
They do. I actually don't like their water very much. If I'm choosing a water bottle, it's not going to be a Zephyr Hills water bottle.
I like it better than like purified water.
I miss North Carolina Deer Park water.
Oh, Deer Park's good.
It's better.
They had a lot of that up in Ohio.
It's better.
Yeah.
I'm a water snob, though.
Yeah. Fair.
So, like I said, his wife Doris and Aisha follow him once he's settled in. His sister actually lived in Key West. So not too long after they get there, he actually leaves his wife and daughter. And he moves to Key West where his sister lived.
Okay. So let me make sure I got that straight.
Yeah.
So he takes his wife and daughter to Cuba.
Yeah.
They are all in Cuba together.
Mm-hmm.
He comes to Florida, but he doesn't go to Key West where his sister is. He goes to Zephyr Hills.
Yes.
And then his wife and daughter
meet him in Zephyr
come
Hills.
to Zephyr Hills, and then he leaves and goes to Key West.
Yes. That's when he leaves his wife, though. They separate at this point.
Gotcha.
And he had just gone to Zephyr Hills to kind of get them settled first.
Okay.
He thought that Cuba was better than Florida. He didn't love Florida. He liked Cuba better. He thought that Cuba was prettier.
Well, this is pre,
1950s
Cuba. So
yes, I think that
there
Carl
was
Tanzler
freedom there then, from what I recall of history. Yeah, I think pre 1950s there was much more freedom. It wasn't the way that it has been since.
I think Carl Tanzler is part of the reason why Florida is so messed up.
Oh.
A lot of bad juju.
Was he the first Florida man?
Definitely not.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, at this point in his life, he gets into the U.S. by and gets work here by telling everybody that he's a medical doctor with many degrees and master degrees. He gets a job as a radiation technician at the Marine Hospital in Key West. He works there under the name Carl Van Kossel. So let's talk about Count Von Kossel here for a minute. So when Carl was around 12, he began seeing visions of his supposed ancestor, Countess Anna Constant. I said this 4 times earlier to make sure I could say it.
Yeah, it happens.
Constantia.
I'd have to see how it's spelled.
Constantia.
Constantia. Yeah.
No, that's not right either.
That sounded fancier.
It's this word right here. Constantia. Or Constantia.
It may even be Constantia.
But
it depends on...
I think it's Constantia.
Okay.
I think that's how I've heard other people call it.
Okay.
When Carl was around 12 years old, he began seeing visions of his supposed ancestor, Countess Anna Constantia. Countess Anna Constantia von Kossel, who was a real person.
Okay.
But not anyone that Carl was actually related to by any means, according to lineage.
But he believed he was.
But he firmly believed he was.
Okay.
Countess Anna Constantia von Kossel.
She's going to get it by the end of the show.
I don't think I have to say it any more times after this, actually. He actually just called her Countess Anna. So, anyway. But she was a real person, so I wanted her full name. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anna visited him regularly, even staying for long periods of time before she told him she was going to show him a vision of his one true love. She showed him a vision of a very beautiful girl in a white dress with dark hair who he, quote, called exotic. That's icky. I hate that. Anyway.
Yeah. Nobody wants to know why I hate that description of, yeah. Okay.
Moving on.
It's a personal matter.
Okay, moving on.
But I felt the need to say something because I'm just sitting here slow blinking and making a face and nobody can see that. So
anyway, he said it was a very beautiful girl with exotic features in a white dress with dark hair. And at one point, once he had grown up a little bit, the spirit of a 22-year-old woman who fit this description began visiting him and then simply existing in the same room as him for 2 weeks at a time. He named her Elysia.
Wait, didn't you say that was his daughter's name?
Yes. So, weirdo alert. He named his daughter the same thing that he had named a spiritual vision of his alleged soulmate. Now, granted, he saw the ghost before he named his daughter. So he named his daughter after the ghost, which is still weird.
It's still weird. Yeah, maybe not quite as creepy, but still weird.
So
gross.
Yes. Okay. So that was when he was younger, and now we're back in Key West, and Carl is working as a radiology technician. He's left his wife and child, Elysia, for some unknown reason, but most likely it was because he could not let go of this idea of his elusive soulmate. On April 22nd, 1930, a sweet 20-year-old girl named Maria Elena. I said this one earlier, too. I did, because every time I do an episode, I say I should have said the names ahead of time to make sure that I can say them.
It doesn't matter. Like when it's a difficult name or
Well,
word.
I can say her last name fine, but it's like she's Cuban, so there's several Maria Elena Milagro de Hoya.
Okay.
Something like that. I'm really sorry. I'm trying very hard. I'm just a little stupid.
Yeah.
Maria Elena de Hoyas walks into a hospital with a bad case of tuberculosis. I'm going to call her Elena. I know her Americanized name was Helen. I don't want to do that. We're going to call her Elena because her name is Elena.
It was the 1930s, though. So,
yeah. When Carl walks into her room, he is taken aback because this is the woman of his dreams. This is his soulmate that he was given from Countess Anna. Constant. Countess Anna von Kossel. We'll just skip the middle part. I don't know. So, can you imagine being in that room and he just walks in? He's like, So little is known about Elena's brief life. She was born in Cuba in 1909. She was the daughter of a cigar maker, and her family came to southern Florida. She was known as a singer and an entertainer before she fell ill with tuberculosis. She had 2 sisters, and her sister's husband actually was electrocuted on a construction site after Elena passed away. So they'd been through it. And because she had tuberculosis, several of her immediate family members also passed away because it's very contagious.
Yes.
And at this point in time, it was a death sentence to get it.
Yeah.
On February 18th, 1926, Elena married a man named Luis Mesa. And Luis left Elena shortly after she suffered a miscarriage of their first child, and he moved to Miami. But she was still legally married at the time of her death.
Right.
So Carl saw this on her records and was devastated, but he still had hope, and he described this as the most happy, elated feeling of his life, meeting her. So Tanzler, with his self-professed medical knowledge and newfound obsession with Elena, attempted to treat and cure her with a variety of medicines. She was sent home because tuberculosis is very contagious and they can't have her in the hospital.
Yes.
So he began smuggling medical equipment, including x-rays and electrical equipment from the hospital and into the Hoya's home. Carl also forcibly sort of moved in.
What?
Yes.
What?
Tanzler showered Elena with gifts and jewelry and clothing and allegedly professed his love to her. But it is very important that there is no evidence that shows that she ever reciprocated any of this.
Yeah.
In fact, there's several points where he proposes and she turns him down, citing their age difference, because Carl is in his mid-50s and Elena is 20.
Yeah.
This goes on for quite some time, and some sources say that they eventually tried to move away from Carl, but he told them it would just be pointless because he's just going to follow them. Yeah.
Crazy.
So he's giving her tonics and all these sorts of experimental things he thinks are going to fix her. And she didn't want any of it. And unfortunately, Elena passes away. The De Hoya's family, racking with their grief and struggling financially, allowed Carl to pay for the entire burial process. He constructed a beautiful above-ground mausoleum in her honor, which, unbeknownst to the family, Carl had the only key for. He had a death mask made, which is essentially a plaster mask of her face. And the family moved out of the home because they were just too grief-stricken to stay there.
Yeah.
And also it was a tuberculosis home. So
yeah.
a lot of people ended up just like moving when that happened.
Yeah.
So after she was buried, Carl went into the mausoleum every night singing her favorite song that was supposed to be a Spanish folk song called La Boda Negra, or The Black Wedding. Tanzler reported hearing his beloved calling out to him, singing in the song. So he sang it to her in return. He thought that the lyrics sort of resonated with him because it depicts, quote, a young man whose fiancée dies and he is so sad that he digs her up from the grave and he takes her home. It actually means, the part that he's saying means that actually just says, by a flickering funeral candlelight on his bed that flowers covered, he gently laid the body of his sweetheart, and he said his wedding vows to his dead lover.
I can't. My gosh. Okay, first of all, you're not young, Carl. You weren't engaged because she said no. And
the song is depicting somebody who like just died in their home,
died,
right?
And they're still there. I go to the mausoleum nightly and visit.
I'm going to show you a picture. Okay. I'm going to show you a picture of Carl, and then we're going to kind of get into a little bit more, but I have to be careful because I don't want you to see other things because I'm going to show you other pictures as well. This is Carl.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, that's not far from what I pictured.
Yeah. So, yeah.
He's a little,
And then this was Alina in her prime.
Okay.
She was a beautiful girl.
Yes.
So,
I mean, and he doesn't look like he was a bad-looking man, but yes, he was old.
Yes, he was old.
Like, and how old was he in that photo? Do you know?
That was about, I would say, 8 to 9 years taken after she passed away.
So, yeah, like he looks even older than he actually was.
So, during his nightly visits for the first 2 years, he was essentially pumping formaldehyde into her body through the coffin, preserving her. After 2 years of these nightly visits, Carl states that Alina's spirit came out of the tomb and told him that it was time to take her home. So he did.
I think it might be huffing all that formaldehyde.
He is huffing it.
My God.
Yeah, it was like with medical equipment that he had taken from the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you've even being in high school and like having to dissect anything and that you just, that smell, if you're like going every night, sitting in a room with formaldehyde. And singing. Yeah. I don't think it was.
Yeah. So he put her on a toy wagon and brought her home.
A toy wagon? This just gets better and better. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
A toy wagon. Fantastic.
So, once Tanzler secretly moved her body into his home in the dead of night, he was able to try a more invasive means of reversing the decay.
Ugh.
Okay, yeah, this is rough. So I'm gonna tell you, and then we're gonna move on.
Okay.
Okay. I can't believe I'm covering this. This is graphic for even me. So I won't be able to listen to this episode back.
Okay.
He used embalming chemicals and perfume, constantly covering her and bathing her in perfume to cover the scent of rot.
Oh.
When her skin started slipping, he used silk dipped in mortician's wax and eventually prosthetics to shape her eyes, face, and body.
Oh, God.
Tanzler held her bones together with wire hangers as her muscles decayed, and he stuffed the body cavity with rags. When her hair fell out, he made a wig of her own hair and put it on top of her head.
Oh, God.
I told you it was rough.
Oh, Carl, you should just stick with your hallucinations.
The primary resting spot of Elena's corpse was in the bed. But don't worry, he valued her privacy. He put up a curtain between her side of the bed and his, so that when she wanted privacy, she could have it.
What?
Carl thought that he and Elena were perfectly capable of living life as man and wife, despite the fact that she had passed away. He was fully intentional of bringing her back. He was going to resurrect her. So he wanted her body to be preserved for when she returned.
It's not preserved, Carl.
I have pictures.
Oh.
Do you want to see?
It's not preserved. It's
not. I will say, it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. It's not good. Let me say, it does not look like her, but it's not as... Oh, no, it's pretty scary. You can say no. You can say no if you don't want to see it.
No, I'll see it. I mean, will you be posting these?
I will.
That you will be posting these.
I'm trying to find a good one. Okay, are you ready?
Oh. Oh.
I told you, it's not quite as bad as you think it's going to be, but it's also
a little Michael Myers.
It is very Michael Myers.
Yes.
He drew her eyebrows on.
Oh, God.
It was very bad. Very, very bad. This was an abomination of what Elena looked like.
Yeah.
Elena was a beautiful woman. And this is a doll. But it's not a doll.
It's a creepy doll.
It's a corpse.
It's creepy. Oh.
Now I'm going to tell you something else. This goes on for 7 years.
Shut up.
7 years.
How?
7 years. Because who's expecting him to have a corpse in his house?
But how? Oh. There's no stop it. You cannot stop that decay that much.
He wasn't, but he was trying really, really hard.
Ugh. I just, we're part of that decomp stain group.
Yes.
And all that I can...
There's a group on Facebook that says, is it a stain or decomp?
All that I can envision is
it's so bad.
Underneath her, it just...
Okay.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, over these 7 years, Carl has a lot going on. And people are noticing his strange behavior, but it's over such a long time frame that, why would anybody put 2 and 2 together? Also, she's in a mausoleum.
Yeah. I get that.
Who is thinking? Nobody. Nobody's thinking he has a body.
He's old, so...
Old men are weird.
Older, and so they're probably just they're
not all weird.
No, not all of them, but
sometimes though, you can get.
They're this guy was a little wacky to begin with,
yeah,
and now he's just become kind of. I imagine he became semi-recluse.
Oh yeah, you're just wait. So over these 7 years, people start noticing his strange behavior. Firstly, he was building an airship that he called Elena's aircraft, that he firmly believed was the ticket to bringing her back to life. That was the point of preserving her, like I said. He said he was going to use his airship to take her body high. This is a direct quote from him. Quote, high into the stratosphere so that radiation from outer space could penetrate Elena's tissues and restore her life to her solemnate form. End quote. I will say we also have a first-hand account of all of this because he wrote a biography later on in life, so.
Oh. And it was published.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, he was asked to write a biography.
Oh, after he's caught. Yeah. And everything. Okay.
Yeah, I can't help him with the whole radiation from space thing.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
I am... I am shooketh.
Yes. So believe it or not, he had been parking this aircraft at the hospital. Like in their parking lot. I don't know. But unfortunately, his behavior over the years, and for some reason or another, he got fired from the hospital.
Shocking.
I know. Maybe it was the smuggling of equipment. Maybe it was the aircraft in the parking lot. Who knows? But he had taken Alina onto the ship to show her her quarters. And like her hospital room where he was going to keep her when he traveled to space in this wooden plane he had built.
He's going to travel to space. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me. Aircraft. So when he was forced to move it from the parking lot, he basically paraded it around town, showing everyone the airship, and nobody knew that Alina's desecrated body was inside. He was also seen buying tons of women's clothing and perfume. And the kicker, finally, a neighborhood boy saw him dancing with a life-size doll through a window.
How? Like, how does he Don't
ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. She wasn't very heavy because all of her body was just rags.
I know. That's why I'm like, how does she not just like fall apart?
Wire, and like her bones were still there, so he had just wired her bones together and then like stuffed her body. I told you it was bad.
This is so bad.
So, apparently, somehow, Alina's sister either got a bug up her ass and decided, like, I want to see my sister.
Yeah.
There are rumors that she heard from the neighborhood boy. There was this rumor that he had the body.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's true. I only saw that in one place. But either way, she decided she was mad. I think it was really more just a bad feeling.
Yeah.
So she confronts Tanzler. She goes to his house. She knocks on the door.
Spirit is showing up to her sister, seriously. Like, hey,
help me.
Come get me.
Yeah, something. Seriously. I don't know why, but I'm glad she did. She decided, I'm going to go. So she bangs on the door and he opens it up and she demands that he take her to her sister's mausoleum. And he's like, okay. And then she says, I demand you to show me my sister. I want to see her. You have the only key. At this point, they figured out that he has the only key. Yeah. And then Carl just says, oh, yeah, I don't have to take you to the mausoleum if you want to see your sister. She's just right in here.
What?
He just owns it. Yeah, I don't have to take you all the way to the mausoleum. You can just come inside.
Carl.
He's owning it.
What?
So she very nervously followed him into the bedroom, where she was horrified to find what appeared to be a wax figure of her late sister. She went to the cops and was like, I don't think that's my sister. But like, you should go check that out.
I've also never seen a dead corpse after 7 years.
Yeah, so they went to the house. They seized the figure, and she said, I don't believe that's my sister. I demand you do an autopsy to prove it, because my sister was beautiful, and that's not my sister.
Yeah.
The autopsy proved that it was Alina. So obviously he was arrested. But I'm going to answer the question that everybody has. I'm going to answer it right now. I'm going to say it. Did he have sex with Alina's body?
I thought it.
He says no, but science says you're probably lying, bro. Because when the medical examiner did the autopsy, he found a paper tube that had been inserted into her vagina. And was like most likely used to like keep the structure in order to have sex with the corpse. But Tanzler says no, he did not. You should see her face. I'm only laughing because if I can't, I'm gonna throw up.
I just
Key West, Florida, everybody.
Are we sure he's not the original Florida man?
He's pretty close.
Oh, so if he wasn't the original, I'm thinking he set the bar.
Oh, he set it pretty high for sure. Oh, you just wait. It gets worse.
Oh no!
Like that was disgusting on like a physical level, but like the disgusting things that are about to happen. on like a legal standpoint.
Oh no.
So Tanzler was what is that word? So stupid.
Psychologically?
No, it's not. Psychiatrically. It's not the right word.
Yeah,
this is a quote I'm reading from. Anyway,
old terminology.
Basically, the medical examiner actually is who did it. Gave him an evaluation and found that he was mentally competent to stand trial. But he was charged with wantonly and maliciously destroying a grave and removing a body without authorization. I think he did a little bit more than that, but that's all they charged him with. After a preliminary hearing in 1940 at the Monroe County Courthouse in Key West, Tanzler was held to answer for the charges, but they were dropped because the statute of limitations for the crime had expired.
Of course.
Because they had charged him with removing the body and destroying the grave.
Yeah.
And he had done that over 7 years ago. So here's a little legal lesson for you. I know a lot of you probably know what the statute of limitations is, but I'm just going to break it down a little bit more because there's nothing else legally that happens in this case. So I figured time for a little legal lesson for the day. The statute of limitations is essentially the maximum amount of time after the event in which legal processings may be initiated.
Yes.
Right? So this is done to protect defendants. Here, I'm just going to read you the statute from Florida statutes. The purpose and effects of statutes of limitations are to protect defendants. There are 3 reasons for their enactment. A plaintiff with a valid cause of action should pursue it within reasonable diligence. If you have a valid case, you should do it pretty quick.
Yeah.
By the time a stale claim is litigated, a defendant might have lost evidence necessary to disprove the claim. And litigation of a long dormant claim may result in more cruelty than justice. So, essentially, this is really useful for, like, I really do get it in, like, civil cases when it's business related. So if you have a contract breach that happens 7 years ago, and then it doesn't really affect anybody, and then you just decide you don't like this person and you're going to sue them because technically they did breach your contract.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. That's why this is there, right? This is there to protect those cases that you're being sued for something stupid, right?
Yes.
From a long time ago.
I concur.
There are obviously some things that there is no statute of limitations for. Everybody knows that murder has no statute of limitations.
Yeah.
Capital felonies, life felonies, or felonies that resulted in the death of a person is the Florida law.
Yeah.
So, because they could only have charged him with destroying the grave and removing the body, and that had happened so long ago, then he's out.
Gross.
What's frustrating is that he had been continuing the crime of desecrating a body for 7 years until he got caught. And if they had not taken Elena away from him, he never would have stopped.
Oh, no.
And that is a crime. But they didn't have that in a statute anywhere in the 1930s.
I bet they did after that.
I freaking hope so. So, this is where I like get so
Caution
angry.
hot coffee.
Caution hot coffee. This is when I get so angry because during the time of his trial and the first, public issues, they obviously took Elena away from him. And this was all that the town of Key West could talk about. So then a funeral home volunteered to display her body for public viewing.
What? Why?
After everything she had been through. And I know a lot of people believe that the soul leaves the body directly after death, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, right?
No, I believe that, but still,
this
let
is
it be.
So wrong on so many levels. Nearly 7,000 people saw her body after everything that was done to it. This was a disgusting, disgusting thing that was done to an innocent woman who was 22 years old at the time of her death. And this is despicable. I am so mad.
They
freaking let schools out early so that the kids could go see it.
What?
Yes. So after the bodies had, I know.
This is one of those situations that I often think about when you hear people say, like, how violent people are these days and how, like, talk about humanity, like people have somehow gotten worse.
No.
I think on, not specifically, obviously, I'd never heard this case, but like you think about like, we used to publicly hang people and like everybody would come and watch.
Yeah.
No, this is human nature and it's gross.
Is literally
and we
no
say that
way.
as true crime people, but like I can watch something, I can hear the stories, I can even like the Facebook group, the decomp versus estate, like kind of like jokingly laugh that off. But honestly, like if something is too graphic, I can look away because it's not right there in my face in person. Like,
and also, I think we do I think as a community, in the true crime community, I think most of us try really hard to enjoy the hobby that we have while still respecting victims.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
This was the utmost disrespectful thing they could have done.
Yeah, I just don't see the purpose of it. Like, what is the purpose other than to make a spectacle?
That's what it was.
What?
I have no idea why.
I can't imagine how. Even if you're thinking, well, she's dead, what does she care? What about her family? Like, it's just disrespectful to her family.
It is so unfair. And she gets, I mean, this whole situation, she got screwed.
That's nuts.
It's horrible.
That is nuts.
After the body had finished being displayed and Carl had been released, he had the audacity to ask for his wife back.
But they weren't married.
No, but he said, "Can I have my wife back now?"
Carl.
They said no, but he did ask.
You better lock her up good, or he'll be breaking in.
So after Elena was reburied, they buried her far away in an unmarked grave and told no one. We still have no idea where she is. There have been some people trying to like get them to tell us and say so we can give her a memorial. And I would kind of like that. But I do understand that they're worried about grave robbers because people are crazy and they would dig her up and try and see. It's horrible.
Like, that was so long ago, though. What would be the point?
I don't know. Just leave her alone, please.
Yeah.
So, and he was upset because after all of his hard work, he did not think she should be buried. He said, "I worked hard. She's beautiful. Let's keep her." You're delusional. She was not. She was falling apart.
Yes.
This was very bad. Her entire body was basically silk covered in mortician's wax. It was so bad. Anyway.
Oh, gosh.
So he eventually was told he had to move back in with somebody. He moved back in with his sister, and then eventually he actually moved back in with his estranged wife, Doris. But before I'll talk about it. But before he did that, he visited Alina's mausoleum for one last time. And then strangely, on the same day that he left town for good, her mausoleum exploded as it had been packed with dynamite. They could never link this to Carl, but who else would blow up her mausoleum?
Yeah.
So Doris cared for Carl until his death, which I think is interesting. But I think what it comes down to is, and I don't know, we have no way of knowing. This is purely me just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Carl clearly had some serious mental health issues.
Well, yes.
Like, he had delusions. He had schizophrenia. He had some sort of something because he thought that spirits were coming to him that he was not related to, and he genuinely thought that it was okay to be doing what he was doing. And I think that he clearly needed help, and that maybe Doris was like, "I'm going to be the one to help him," because she had married him. Yeah. And she had a kid with him. So
poor Doris, though.
I do feel bad for Doris. I really do. But I think that it was really probably a good thing, despite what happens in the end. So eventually he passed away. And when Carl's body was found, he was holding an effigy, or a statue, basically a doll, made of plaster casts that he had made of Alina's body before he got caught. And it was wearing the death mask he made right after she passed away.
So, like a life-size
Yes, a
doll.
life-size doll.
Oh.
His delusions continued until his death. He never got better.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. What is bizarre is that Tanzler's tale is often presented as like a love story, especially to the women of this time and people in Key West. They really were like, "Oh no, he just loved her and he couldn't imagine life without her."
Ugh.
But it is so important to remember that to Alina, this is not romantic.
She yeah.
It was a victim of this horrible, horrible situation. She never loved him. She didn't want him around. He forced himself onto her family and tried to heal her. And she's a victim.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Like, I swear.
I just, there are no words.
And many
Why
people
would that be
thought
portrayed
that he
as
was like
love?
a sympathetic, like wildly romantic story.
No. That's
it was
gross.
Not at all. There's no happy ending to the story.
How? Even, okay. Let's say the most romantic couple you know. Think of, like, their soulmates. Love of each other's lives.
Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher.
Okay.
I feel like they're a good example.
They're a good example.
Mila dies.
Mila dies. Ashton has a whole funeral, but then proceeds to do all of these horrible things.
No, it's still weird.
No one in their right mind is going to be like, see?
Just loved her so much.
He just loved her so much. No. They're going to be like, dude, you need psychiatric help.
Yeah.
Like, your wife died, and we know you loved her, but move on.
Look at this beautiful padded room.
We're going to give this jacket to you. It's like giving yourself a hug. It's a hug.
I do think that Doris is the reason he didn't act out further in his life.
Yeah. Because
I am shocked that he did not like go crazy trying to find her.
Yeah.
So, what else do you say? I do want to shout out to 2 podcast episodes that I listened to while researching when I was trying to find a case this week before I sat down and I read part of his biography and some other things.
Yeah.
Stuff You Missed from History Class covered it. They did an amazing job covering the actual history from the beginning that I could not wrap my head around. And then Morbid, episode 152. It's actually a case where they have a guest on, and it is so funny. They really managed to make this case something that I could enjoy listening to.
Yeah.
So I recommend those 2 cases as well, or those 2 podcasts as well, for if you want more information or you just want to hear it again. I mean, feel free
I don't want to hear that again, but I'm always up for good content.
Yeah.
Well, that was wild.
I hope I gave an adequate content warning at the beginning. I didn't want to, like, how do you say, like, this is, like, really bad?
This is not our typical murder case.
No.
Because there was no murder, actually.
But I thought that it was fascinating about, like, you can find holes in the law. Like, statute of limitations is there to protect people, but it also, you can run into problems with that. It's not a perfect system by any means.
Yeah, in certain types of cases, I am not a fan of the statute of limitations.
No, but I do see why it's there.
I do.
I think it should be one of those things. Oh, I don't know. You can't necessarily do things case by case, but this should have been an exception. He needed help. But this wasn't a point in history where they were,
Yeah.
Now I feel like now he would have been sentenced to some sort of, hospital.
He at least would have been.
They would have charged him with desecration of a body.
I definitely don't think anybody's estranged wife would be like, yeah, send him my way. I'll take care of him in his old age after that.
And listen, as depraved as humanity is, there is no way they would have displayed her body.
Oh, no.
In 2022.
No, not at all. And I think that's, I mean, like I said.
I'm shocked they did it in the 1930s. I think it was 1940.
I'm not, like, we all would be shocked at the things that they were still doing in that time. But I still am always just baffled by people acting like, oh, times are so, like, times back then.
Yeah.
Or so. And I get it to a degree, because as you get older, you do start to look at stuff and go, wow, things have changed, or the new generations have changed. Like, but it's not really that we've become more violent or we've become less, what's the word I'm looking for? Empathetic, for lack of a better word. It's that, I don't think it's that. I think it's that just with technology and stuff, I think it's a combination. With technology and stuff, everything feels more detached.
Yeah.
So when you do hear something violent, see something violent,
I feel like we're more sensitive to it when it's in real life.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So when it's in real life, I think it depends on the person.
Absolutely.
And what's happening in their head. But I think some people would be even more, I know I would, if I were to see stuff in real life, like I can listen to true crime all day long, watch documentaries, watch movies, do it, whatever. But if I saw something happen in real life, oh, absolutely. I would be devastated. I would be so freaked out. But back then, the only way to see those things was in real life. And I think there was it was more common, like honestly, because life was just in times where we didn't have all the luxuries and technology and stuff. Like life in general was harder.
People have always loved weird stuff too.
Yes.
And when you don't have the internet to give you fictional or like TV shows to give you fictional, real weird stuff or fictional weird stuff, you have to get it from real things. And that's terrifying. Other than like books, because books have always been around. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Many people couldn't read. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Because.
Yeah. Wild case. I could not put it down, though. I will say. Like, I had to figure out what was happening.
Well, yeah. Ugh.
I hope you enjoyed your little legal lesson. I wanted to still have a little bit of law in there today.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I already knew that, but for our listeners, yes.
Well, thanks for listening. I hope you made it to the end.
Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Hey, well, I just want to take a second to give a call to action. So we're so excited about how many people seem to be like listening regularly, but please, if you haven't already, follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, catch up with our posts. We make announcements about new episodes in advance, like what episodes are coming. Like us, rate us.
Yeah, if you want us to do a specific case, there's a link to a Google Sheets in our bio in our link tree. And that way you can let us know what you want to hear and we can see kind of the kind of cases you like and
Absolutely. Because I want to know. We want to know. We want to know you.
Yes, we do. Desperately want to know you guys. It's so weird to see the numbers and not have faces.
Yes, it is.
So
very strange.
Thank you to everybody who has listened so far. We're blown away by the support and we're so excited.
Absolutely. All right. Till next time.
Till next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, guys. Find us on Instagram and TikTok at Burden of Proof Pod and email us at burdenofproofpod@gmail.com.